Hey everyone, my name is James Goodnow. I am a graduate of Harvard Law School and I'm here to give you my top 5 tips for how I got in and how you can get in too. So let's start from the beginning. Tip number 1, rewire your brain for the LSAT. Rewire your brain for the LSAT. Now, you may feel that you've done well on standardized tests before. Maybe you did well on the SAT or the ACT and you think you got the LSAT nailed. I've got to tell you, it is a different test. There are core elements that are similar. If you're a good test taker, it may overlap, but you need to understand how the LSAT works. Here's what worked for me. I got a big stack of LSATs, and I know they've now migrated to being online, but get some old tests and do them over and over and over again. So even though you've gone through it once, if you make mistakes, correct those mistakes, understand why you got them wrong, and then put them back into the pile and do it again. Yes, you may know the answer, but what you're going to find is you will see patterns that start to emerge. The dots will be connected. You'll see that there's actually a limited set of questions that get asked by the makers of the LSAT over and over and over again. Now, obviously, they're going to be different in terms of some of the specifics of the questions, but there are only a limited number of types of questions. And if you can see those and understand how they work, it will give you a good conceptual overview of how to do well and then help you execute on the specific questions. Now, I did try one of those big branded test prep programs, and I've got to be honest, it didn't work at all for me. You have an instructor, whether in person or online, that is trying to give guidance to lots of different people at lots of different levels with lots of different strengths and weaknesses. And the result of that is no one gets the instruction they need. I did not see the needle moved on my test score until I went to a private tutor. Now, I was very fortunate. I found someone who was a student at Stanford Law School who sat down with me and said, look, let's just look at these sections and let me tell you about how I think about it. Just like when I went through the tests over and over and over again and saw patterns, I started seeing patterns here. And for me, I found strategies that worked. Example, the tutor said, James, stop trying to take notes and underline key sections in reading comprehension or circle transition words. Just read the passage. Don't write anything down. You're not going to have the crutch of your notes. If you know you have nothing to rely on but your memory, you're going to remember it out of necessity. And it was breakthrough. I moved faster. I sat down. All I did was read the passage. I didn't try any tips or tricks. I read the passage and I knew, because I had no net below me, that if I didn't remember that and comprehend it, I was in trouble, and it worked. That was a breakthrough moment for me, and I had many of those as I went through that process. So those are my tips for the LSAT. Rewire your brain for that test, and it will work. Number 2, grades. This is going to be a short one. Work your tail off. Work your tail off. There is no substitute for hard work. I wish there was some magic formula where you could only work a few days a week and you didn't have to work hard at night and you can get the grades that are needed for Harvard or another top school, but that's just not true. You have to work harder than other people. You have to make sacrifices. You have to not go out sometimes because you're studying for a test. And I know that's not fun, but let me tell you, from my perspective in the long haul, it's made a huge difference in my life, and I've had a lot more life fun now that I got through that and was able to deliver on the grades. Now, let me give you some tips. If you find yourself struggling in a class, please, please, please address it earlier. Go to your professors, go to your TAs, get a tutor, do what you need to, because if you don't understand a subject and time goes on and it's a building block course, say it's a math course, and you don't understand those fundamental principles, you will be in trouble. So look, this is the area where there are the least amount of secrets for getting good grades. You gotta work hard. You have to address issues early. Get solid foundations and you'll do well. Because if you want to land a spot at a top law school, you're going to need top grades. Tip number 3, do not be lazy with your letters of recommendation. This is a huge missed opportunity for so many people because they don't plan in advance. Typically people think, I'm going to go to law school. Okay, great. Now I need to think about a letter of recommendation. Who would be good? If you're at that point, you're probably in trouble. It does require forethought. Now, I was fortunate in that I knew pretty early in college that I wanted to go to law school. I also knew that there were areas of school that I really enjoyed, and there were certain professors that I thought were fantastic and offered great insight. So what did I do? I made sure that as I found those courses, I developed a relationship with those professors. I would attend office hours. I applied for TA positions. I got to know them. I took multiple courses from them. And I knew at some point when I got to my law school application, those professors would actually know me. I just wouldn't be a grade. I just wouldn't be a statistic. I would be a person. But that's not enough. You actually have to do more than that. Once I identified the professors that I'd worked with closely, I'd taken multiple courses with, from one I was actually a TA, I then went and I brought a resume, a very tailored resume to remind the professors what I have done and what my key accomplishments were. It'd be great to think that every professor can memorize the resumes and activities of every student, but that's not true. So please, to wrap up on this one, do not be lazy with your letters of recommendation, because these are the differentiators when it comes to lots of qualified candidates applying to top law schools. Tip number 4, when it comes to law school essays, put it all out there. Admissions directors at top law schools have to read thousands and thousands of personal statements and essays. Put yourself in their shoes. Are you going to be moved if you read a narrative version of someone's resume yet again? Law students love to do this. We love to write all our accomplishments out and think, if we can pack so much into this essay, this law school admissions director is going to be wowed by what they see on paper and will definitely let me in. Nope, doesn't work that way. In fact, that is the exact opposite of what you should do. What you need to do is tell a compelling story that shows, 1, you know how to write, that's important. 2, you can be succinct. And 3, you're capable of profound insight, and you show a depth of reflection and knowledge that's going to move people in the classroom. When you're debating that Civ Pro case or that torts case and you come up with a great insight, that is what they're looking for, and they're looking for little indicators of that in your personal statement. My recommendation is, don't write about a bunch of different topics mushed into one. Pick one topic, one story. It doesn't need to be anything profound. It doesn't need to be about the time you climbed to the top of Mount Everest. It can be, but it can be something simple, a day-to-day activity that reminds you of a childhood memory, or reminds you of that moment where you overcame adversity, where you were struggling and you ultimately won, even if it's a small thing, and you came to a new moment of self-reflection and self-realization. Law schools are trying to assemble classes of deep thinkers, people who are not only capable of understanding the black letter law, but people who are capable of understanding the reasons underlying that law and the policies behind them. Those are the people they want in those law school classrooms. But also, if you want to get your essay over the top, give it an edge, you need to create an emotional connection. When I say put it out there, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be honest. You have to expose your weaknesses. Let's be honest. Lawyers have a reputation for being bombastic, egotistical, puffery, full of hot air. And if you put that in your essay, it ain't going nowhere. What you need to do is be vulnerable. You have to be honest. You have to expose your weaknesses. And if you do that, you'll at least put your essay in the best position to make an emotional connection with the person from the admissions department reading it. And if you get that, that will give you the edge and hopefully get you into that law school. Show the law school that you know something about it. In the case of Harvard, were you inspired the first time you walked through the Langdale Library when you took a tour? That's it, by the way. Pretty inspirational place. Or was it that you were moved when you heard about the great clinical programs they have and spoke with the students? Or maybe you've heard about that Ames moot court competition. That's really something that's unique. Or how about the Harvard program in negotiation? That's something where you've read books, scholarly writings, or you've actually taken some online courses or watched videos about it. Show that you care about the school, and that will come through and will help you when you're making your case, which is what you're doing. You're making a case to the admissions department. So it's your first job as a lawyer. Please demonstrate that interest in your essays, in the stories, and in the information that you convey to your recommenders. And in every opportunity you have, you want to tailor it to the school to show that this isn't just a school you added to the list. This is the school that you want to attend. So that's it. Those are my top 5 tips for getting into Harvard Law School. I wish you tremendous luck on your journey. The experience was an incredible one for me. Academically, it was phenomenal. Cambridge and Boston was a wonderful experience, and I met some great friends there as well. I hope you have that opportunity. Take care, everyone.